Before we start the show, just a word from our sponsor, Undeniable Press. For all your screen printing needs, located in the Corktown district of Detroit, Michigan. If you ever need any t-shirts or any other little promo accessories, posters, or whatnot printed up for you, go to Undeniable Press. They're located, once again, in the Corktown district of Detroit, Michigan, and you can reach them at facebook.com/undeniablepressdetroit. And those same guys who do Undeniable Press also have a clothing line called 20 by 20 Apparel. It's very much wrestling themed, all sorts of nostalgic themes in regards to the history of wrestling. And you can go check out their clothing line at 20x20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. Now let's start the show.
Fresh is the word.
I'm Jim Duggan, got long wood for plenty hoes. I keep it fresher than fresh, but you already know. You suckers bummy, I'm money, I got a ton of flows. My weed loud like a motherfucking thunder roll. Your shit quiet like you ballin' on a budget though. We see your kicks and we laugh and yellin' what are those. You see me shining like a suit on puffy. You know my grindin' shit is too strong, buddy. That's why the dude call money. I be stuntin' like it's nothing at all, cause it's nothing to me. It's probably something to y'all. Trying to smoke like me, then come and fuck with your dog. Got a closet full of kicks, you can't cop it them all. And I'm fresher than the freshest, you can tell it's in my essence. Bitch, you see the way I'm rapping, yes I do this shit to death. Until I'm running out of breath, or tell somebody cut a check. But either way you know it's fresh, and either way you know it's fresh. Fresh, we fresh. Fresh, 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 goddammit, we fresh.
Welcome to the Fresh Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie K. Fresh Frazier. This is episode 85. And like always, we have a great show for you. First off, I just kind of want to update a few things in regards to the podcast. I feel like since I relaunched the podcast a couple months ago, that it's already taking this whole other turn, almost like taking a life of its own and going in this direction that I'm really happy about. And sort of what that direction is that before this podcast was about, I had a lot of music guests and I was trying to dip my toe into pro wrestling and MMA, and I kind of got tired of doing all that. So what I'm kind of doing now is that this is a pop culture podcast, and I want to try to find sort of actionable advice and good stories that our guests can talk about so you can learn something about it. Recently, I had some design work to get a flyer done, and I wanted to sort of think of how I could put this podcast into one sentence. And I came up with that this is the pop culture podcast, delivering wisdom from the minds of bright creatives. And that might sound like a bunch of hooey to you, but what I'm trying to do is, whether it's a music artist, a comic book author, an illustrator, an artist, I feel like what I'm trying to do now is sort of, I don't want to talk about pop culture. We're not going to talk about what happened on the latest episode of the Kardashians. What I want to do is sort of break down what's behind pop culture, what makes pop culture. All these artists and creatives, what sort of makes them tick? What are their methods of creating? What do they think of? How do they get past the obstacles? I'm kind of sort of trying to figure out in mind the elements of what pop culture is. So, with that, there's going to be a bunch of different types of guests that are going to be on this podcast in the future, because there's a lot of things where, you might not think there's a lesson from a certain type of artistry or whatever, but there is. There's a lot of things that I've always been passionate about that people sort of make fun of, but those things are attached to things that are important. One thing is, let's say pro wrestling, for example. Right now I'm trying to get the owner, the creator of Pro Wrestling Eve, Emily Reed, on the podcast, because I really want to talk to her about her organization, Pro Wrestling Eve, It's based out in the UK, but it's really tied to, empowering women and feminism and just having a punk rock attitude in regards to sort of, empowering women and having a real voice that isn't secondary to men, to show that they can run with the boys. It's stuff like that. I feel like if I'm going to try to champion things like women having a voice, the Me Too movement, if I'm gonna mental health, that I need to find ways that I can really contribute to that. And that's what I want this podcast to be. Like, those things are a part of pop culture. They're important subjects that sort of go everywhere. It doesn't matter what, industry or, line of business or type of art, those things exist, and that's what I'm trying to mine. All while having fun, and telling some good stories and finding out what people's influences are, and trying to, like, what I really want to do is, we all have sort of those self-doubts. We have those inner critics that are always like buzzing in our mind. So I really want to try to, get all that out from people, to show our listeners, to people who are, struggling with their art, that everybody has the same struggles, and we need to we can work through them, and everybody's going to have shitty versions of what they're trying to do, and people are going to go through good times and bad times, but guess what? It's all right. It's all right to struggle. Struggling and failure, lead to bigger and better things, So I just want this podcast to be very, positive, and I want to try to, be able to mine those lessons and those, actionable items that people have in their career, to figure out, why does pop culture exist? Why do all these different sort of art forms exist? What are the differences? What are the similarities? How can everybody work together? I just want to try to, be able to say that those inner critics and those self-doubts, everybody has, and it's okay. But there's ways that you can get rid of them, or move past them, or embrace them and move past it. So that's definitely, I just wanted to get that off my chest, because this is where this podcast is going. It's definitely changed over the past, almost 3 years now. In a few months will be my, in November will be the third year anniversary. But that's definitely where it's going. So this week I'm going to have 3 episodes, and they're all going to be interviews that I recorded recently at the Wizard World Comic Con in Columbus. It was a great, I went there for a couple of days. Great Comic Con. I met, a bunch of people in the Artist Alley. I did, a few interviews, and I also set up a lot of interviews for the future, because there are some people that were so interesting that I'm like, all right, I kind of want them away. I want to talk to them away from the Comic-Con. I need like an hour with these people, because I feel like they're just a big ball of energy that I need to get like so much information from, because they're so interesting. But I enjoyed myself. There was a lot of cool people that I linked up with. Going to these Comic-Cons are very much an exercise in my own sort of shyness and opening up and everything, more than, this is like the biggest exercise since I've quit drinking that has been able to get me to be more social with people. I talk with so many people at these Comic-Cons that I go to now. It's actually really, I'm even surprised at how many people I talk to and how like social I am. So, maybe this was something that I needed to do in my life, and hopefully I can maybe, I can use that to other things in the music scene or whatever. But then again, who knows? We'll see. It's still, you got to deal with people. But anyways, enough rambling about everything going on. This episode is somebody really cool that I met at the Wizard World Columbus. Her name is Erin Schechtman Caruso. She does this. She does these prints called, supergroup hugs. And simply put, supergroup hugs are prints of your favorite pop culture characters hugging. A lot of times they're, people that you might be friends on screen or whatever. Like I bought a print of Sailor Moon and the cat Luna hugging, but then it might be people who are enemies or are hugging with an inanimate object or something. She said something about Iron Man with alcohol. So that's great. She's a Cleveland-based art director, professional illustrator, a fine artist. So we during our interview, we talk about the idea behind supergroup hugs and how she interacts with people at conventions like Wizard World, and then working in a variety of artistic mediums, and how she sort of navigates having a career in one artistic medium while having her own projects. So it was great to talk with her. So let's get into my interview with Erin Schechtman Caruso. All right, we're at Wizard World Columbus. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Erin Schechtman Caruso, and I draw hugs.
You draw hugs? Like, how did that come about?
So my brand is called Super Group Hugs, and I've always been doing art, a lot of fine art, and I have a career in art doing product design. But I really wanted like a side project that I could sink my teeth into and like do a whole lot of different versions of pop culture, different pop culture properties with one theme. And so it ended up being hugs.
Why hugs? What's your idea of what the hug means?
Well, I picked hugs because it's a lot like me. It really fits my personality. It's a little cute, but a little awkward too. And it opens up a whole realm of different possibilities within the art. Sometimes people are uncomfortable, and that's funny. Sometimes it's really endearing and sweet. There's some sad hugs. It's just like a really good blank slate platform to jump off of. And yeah, hugs.
Generally, in your pieces, are you having people hug that are friends or enemies, or who's hugging?
Oh, there's both. Yeah. Like sometimes it's like a sweet couple. Sometimes like hugs are a weapon. Like I have a Hulk and Hulkbuster hug that looks quite painful, but still cute. Sometimes people are left out of hugs and they're sad. Like I have a whole Justice League hug, but Aquaman's left out because he often got left out of missions. And I've got, it just runs the gamut. I try to I insert my sense of humor in there. Some of them just end up being like a cute moment, but sometimes they can be a little bit twisted. Like I have Iron Man hugging a bottle of alcohol from when he was an alcoholic.
That's great. So, how long have you been doing these hug pieces?
I started doing the hugs early 2015, and so it's 2018 now, so about 3.5 years. But I've always done art. I've always been a fine artist. I actually came from a very traditional background, doing like oil portraits and that kind of stuff. But I've been one of those people that likes to learn everything. So whatever medium it is, I'll figure out a way to do it. And my day job, I work mostly digitally, and I can't look at a computer when I'm home. So when I'm home, I just want to sit on the couch and do little watercolor paintings, and that's really the whole background of the hugs. Is they're quick, and I can sit on the couch and do them. I don't have to think too hard, but they're still sweet and fun, and there's a story behind them.
When did you first, want to become an artist?
So I started studying hard when I was about 11.
Okay.
I was one of those kids that decided what they were going to do and worked very, very hard at it from a young age. So when I was 11, I started taking classes. When I was 14, I decided I would get an illustration degree. So spent all of high school working toward that, just getting into a good school. And then I went to Syracuse, and I have a degree in illustration. And then immediately after college, I got hired designing arts and craft products and doing product design. And now I'm an art director for another product design company. So it's always been like a career path for me. It was never art is always something I'm really passionate about, but it was also like a money thing. Like it's also an entrepreneurial thing, a way that I could make a living. So that's always just as interesting to me and just as much as a puzzle as doing the actual art. I like both.
Once it was in your mind that this is what you want to do for your living in some way, how flexible were you during this path? How many times did you have to swerve in a whole other lane or try to figure shit out? I
was pretty much set in knowing what I was going to do all through high school, but I think once you're through college, you take whatever opportunity you can get. So I didn't know I would end up doing product design. It's just your first job ends up being your career. So that was you have to kind of be flexible, but also just opportunities come up. Like this Supergroup Hugs, the reason why I needed a whole bunch of art was because I was doing an event and I needed to make a whole bunch of things. So we did that and sold out the first time we ever had them. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. And so then we pivoted and started that. You kind of have to be aware of the opportunities happening around you and put yourself out there, and you never know where life is going to lead.
Okay, so Supergroup Hugs was something that you kind of did on a whim because you needed product,
Exactly, yeah.
and it worked,
And it worked.
So you just kind of pivoted in that sort of direction.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm pretty, my husband and I do this together, and we're both pretty flexible and easygoing, and we kind of follow life where it takes us.
Right. How much of it is sort of preparation, and then how much of it is going on the whim and just figuring stuff and just trying something out on the fly?
I would say that it is going on a whim, but then following through. If you are gonna do it, do it. Anytime if I was doing a gallery show back when I did fine art, then I was doing 20, 30 pieces for it. Supergroup Hugs would not work if I had 10 of them. You need to have, I have over 100 now, but I would say 40 or 50 different prints to really be successful. So I knew when we first came up with the idea and started, that's it. I sat on the couch for weeks and just started making them. I actually have to do it again soon because now that we've been doing this for 3 years, it's time to really take a strong look and refresh things.
Yeah, freshen up the inventory.
And we've done that gradually, over time, but here and there. But it's time to do a whole big refresh.
How much time does it usually take to knock out a single piece?
Well, originally it was designed to be so quick because I work full time, so it was supposed to be let's sit on the couch and get one done every hour. But now, it depends on the size. My big ones will take a few days to do. They have a lot of characters. The smaller ones, I would say 4 hours average.
Right.
Yeah.
How has these hug pieces evolved since you first started doing them?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they started out as a little tiny, trading card size, because they were designed to be quick. And then I realized, 5x7 is a print that size that people would actually buy. And when I blow these up, they don't look as good. So then I started working in that larger size, and everything became way more detailed. And now it's almost a challenge to capture a likeness, and it's become a lot more involved. to make sure, like, you know, I want to challenge myself to make it interesting too.
Right. When you were, sort of, coming up, learning your craft, how, was there anybody that sort of you looked for advice to?
Mm-hmm.
And what sort of advice did you get at that time?
Sure. When I was really lucky, I had one of those families that if I was interested in something, they were like, yep, okay, you have a private tutor, here you go do it. So I, in high school, all 4 years of high school, I worked with a fine artist, and she was one of those people who could pick up any medium and any style and, like, be able to do it. So I learned really on to not be afraid of trying, experimenting, playing with all sorts of different things. Like, a lot of artists will pick a thing that they like and stick to it, which is good. But for me, versatility is more important. And I actually look for that now that I hire people to work for me to design stuff for my day job. Like, I want someone who, like, is a jack of all trades, and if they don't know something, they'll be like, okay, yep, I'll figure it out, So for me, like, that really goes back to the teacher I had. You can look her up. Her name's Nancy Bossert. She's still doing amazing art. And it goes back to her and her love for this, for any sort of medium, for experimenting, for playing around, for really trying anything.
When you came from doing fine art, and sometimes in fine art there can be types of art that can be a little bit more like those type of people don't really dig it, Does that still exist, and how does, like, experimenting in all mediums kind of work out for you in all of that?
Yeah, there still is a bit of a stigma. Like, I do fine art, but I have an illustration degree, and even that is a bit of a, like, those two camps, you'll find a lot of people who get mad at each other.
Right.
But I think really in today's side hustle society, if you want to survive, you really need to throw away all of those perceived notions and stereotypes, especially as illustration's becoming more and more recognized as, on the same level as fine art, as it should.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the community, I don't know, people who go through, like, a painting program or an illustration program have people who drive into their heads these, like, some of the discrimination.
Yeah.
And I've seen it firsthand. And it's up to people who are working their own to really throw that out. And I think that just the way that our culture is going, the way social media is, I'm hoping that it's kind of leveling out. Although,
Right.
Who knows? Things are getting more and more polarized in every other field. So,
Right.
Yeah.
When you're at these Comic-Cons like this, what are mostly the discussions you're having with people that come up to you?
Oh, well, I always greet them and say, hi, I'm Erin, I draw hugs. And then I say, ta-da! Or I say, look, they're all hugging. And then they'll look at them and they're like, huh, they are hugging. There's usually a bit of a, like, we do this so much, we talk to so many people that people often say the same thing over and over.
Right.
So yeah, I love it when people come and talk to me about art, or people who are like young artists that want to have a career in art, and like I will throw so much information at them that they're like, okay, thanks, bye, I'm good.
Right. How important is it for those, like, young artists that come up to you asking you questions to, like, actually give them information? Because at one point you were in that position.
Sure. Yeah. I love it. I taught for many years too, so that never really leaves you.
Right.
Some people I think respond to it more than others. But I think if you are a young artist, like, this community is so welcoming. Just, it's so helpful to, like, not work in a vacuum and, like, seek out mentors. I've had so many in my career that have done so much for me. And yeah, I think it's really important.
What advice would you have for young artists of any kind if they want to seek out, their favorite artists and, ask them advice or any questions? What advice would you have for them?
let's see. I think that a lot of people think that for illustration especially, it kind of falls into two camps. Either you're going to have a career as a freelancer and you're just going to work for yourself, or you're going to work in an office. And for me, I was lucky enough to get hired at a 9-to-5 job straight off the bat. And I've learned so much from that experience. And I think that, when you work for yourself, it's great, but you are alone. And you're missing a lot of those learning opportunities. So I think don't dismiss the fact that there is other career options out there for artists. On that note, learn your digital programs. You have got to know Photoshop, and you have to know especially Adobe Illustrator before you go and try to get hired. And if you send me a resume that does not have a portfolio link, you are immediately rejected. You would be surprised.
I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, I think we just went through a whole hiring process, and I think I want to say a third of the resumes I got, people didn't send a portfolio.
I come from music. You see how many music artists, bands, rappers send me stuff and make it hard for me to figure out what it is.
And don't send me music, yeah.
send me an email, but don't send me music. And I'm like,
oh
I'm
man.
I'm not gonna write about you if I don't even know if you're good or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about, what lesson could you sort of extract from your life and career that anybody listening to this, whether they're being an artist, an illustrator, or any other profession, could, take and apply it to their life?
Oh man. I would say keep making things and find your community. I do a lot of stuff because there's opportunities that are out there, and if you don't find them, make it yourself. I would also say marrying your booth buddy helps a lot when you're doing cons. Because I have a built-in helper.
Yeah.
But yeah, every single city, no matter how small, has a community of artists. You just have to find them and support each other.
Yeah, how important is that to find sort of like-minded people that you can work with, bounce ideas off of, no matter what sort of, avenue of art it is? How important is that?
Super, super important. I'm really lucky. I have Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. Cleveland has an amazing art community. And I have a group of very close friends. Actually, I think all my friends are artists. I run an event called Drink and Draw with my friends. Actually, I'm part of an art collective, so the 6 of us run it. One guy kind of takes the lead on it, but we get people together once a month and just spitball, and it's essential. You just doodle with some friends, support each other, and get better. The thing about art is you're never done. There's never going to be a point where you are a master. You're just going to keep improving and keep working your entire life until you die. And that's kind of amazing. There's always more to learn, always stuff that you can learn from others. And with art too, it's a lot of, you put a lot of yourself into what you do, and it's hard. And you have to learn to be okay with that. Right. And find other people who are doing the same thing, because other normal people don't understand.
Right. Yeah. And having that sort of community, and definitely with the events that you put on, how much of sort of getting rid of that inner critic goes on in those groups, getting rid of that I suck sort of point of thing. How much of that goes on in in having those communities?
Sure. I would say a lot, because everyone raises each other up. That being said, you are going to make a lot of
Yeah, go ahead.
a lot of really shitty art. Like, that's kind of part of the process, and you have to be okay with everything isn't going to be a masterpiece, I had a saying back when I was teaching that every painting goes through an ugly phase. And that's true. No matter how long you've been doing this, there's always a spot, sometimes several spots, whenever you're making anything, that it's going to look awful. The issue is that a lot of people quit at those spots, and they just give up and say, I suck. And the thing is, you have to just keep powering through it. It's going to get better. But that being said, too, like, you have to make a lot of shitty art before you make a lot of good art, it will get better. It's just, it's not something that you're going to be good at overnight. I've been working, how old am I? Oh, God. I've been working for 21 years on this craft. So, and there's still pieces that I don't like, but that's, the other thing is, most people don't notice that. So, if you are not a super critical artist and you put it out there, the public doesn't really care that much.
Right.
And so a lot of, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It should be good, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Cool. All the interviews that I do, I like to end with the same question. And that question is, who is somebody that's been a part of your life or career that I could realistically interview that would have good stories or good lessons?
Oh, man. That you could actually reach. Let me think. Local, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. We got Skype and phone, and we got technology,
Well, the biggest professor influence that I had is an artist named Roger De Muth, and he was another one of those, I will learn how to do anything. And I took one class with him, and I learned product design, and if that didn't happen, then I would not be anywhere near where I am today. On the comic front, Katie Cook is freaking amazing.
Okay.
And I've gotten to know her a little bit over the last couple years. And yeah, she's hilarious and has like the best dry, awesome sense of humor. But also like is a working artist who's kicking ass. So I would recommend Katie Cook.
All right, great. Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to check out your artwork online, more information about you online, where can they go?
Right. So all of the hugs are up online at supergrouphugs.com. It's pretty easy to remember. You can also find me on Instagram at Erin in Artland. And I think on Facebook it's Supergroup Hugs as well. So, yeah, Supergroup Hugs. I draw hugs.
Cool. Thank you.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was my interview with Erin Schechtman Caruso. If you want any more information in regards to her and Supergroup Hugs or anything she's working on, you can check out the show notes at freshasthepodcast.com, and everything that she does is linked up on the show notes page for this episode. Now it's time for this episode's Fresh Pick of the Week. And this episode's pick is the comic book Adventures of Clarity Girl, released by Sarcastic Skull Studios. With the art and story by Chris Tomasma, Clarity Girl #1 is about an immature young girl named Clara who needs to deal with how to become a superhero after she is given powers by her dad's company, White Corp. During this journey, not only does she need to learn how to use her new powers, but she also needs to destroy a monster she's created. That alone sounds like a metaphor for life. Clarity Girl takes a real lighthearted take on something that normally would be a very doom and gloom type of story. I'm super excited to read the next issue, which Chris has told me is not too far from release. So if you want any more information on the adventures of Clarity Girl, you can definitely check out their Store Envy page at sarcasticskull.storeenvy.com, or you can go to facebook.com/ClarityGirlComic. All this, of course, is also linked up on the show notes page for this episode at freshasthepodcast.com. So that's it for the show. And before I let you leave, I definitely want to remind you how you can support the podcast. You can always go to freshasthepodcast.com and, share any of the links that are on the website on any of your social media. You can subscribe to Fresh as the Word on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Mixcloud, SoundCloud, Google Play, and TuneIn. Just go to any of those platforms, search Fresh as the Word, and it should come up. And you can subscribe to the podcast that way. And if you could, especially on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review and a rating. That would be awesome. It would help the podcast with its visibility in this ever so changing, complex world of algorithms on social media. So that would help. And if I do see that you wrote something nice, I'll definitely read it on an upcoming episode. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KellyOmegaFresh, and on Facebook at facebook.com/KFresh. And also you can follow Fresh as the Word online on Twitter at FITW Podcast, on Instagram at Fresh as the Word Podcast, Facebook at facebook.com/Fresh as the Podcast, and on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Fresh as the Word Podcast. All right, that's been another episode. We'll have 2 more episodes this week from the Wizard World Comic-Con Columbus. So be on the lookout for those. Have a nice day. See you next week. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.